All right, so I'm gonna work relatively quick on this one. The sun's kind of going down pretty quick, and it's a lot colder than I thought. This is all I have, so found a bench. I'm gonna try and stand and lean on this for the majority of this painting. I've got a 9x12 vertical, so 12x9, and a scene that I think can work out well if it's done right. The sun keeps popping in and out, but that's okay. We've worked with that plenty of times before. I seem to not be able to escape the wind. It is still windy. It just doesn't stop. I've looked, actually, the reason I'm out here is because I looked at the forecast and it's supposed to be even windier like every single day. So we're just good. It's just something that I'm gonna have to deal with. Hopefully the voice isn't super distorted this time like it was in the last video. Just put out my color palette. I've got my usual color palette, ultramarine blue, cerulean blue. I finally got my cobalt blue using the transparent orange oxide to sketch it out. I got my two reds, cadmium red light, cadmium red medium, my yellow ochre, cadmium yellow medium, cadmium yellow light, and then titanium white. So that's gonna be my color palette. This is a very, very close up of a tree, and I like it that there's water behind it, and it's just got this really nice strong contrast. I'm really big into strong contrast right now. I just finished up a studio painting. I'll actually insert that painting right here. It's a winter scene. So it's got strong contrast, and I'm really trying to have that dark against the light. And with this tree, it's got the strong contrast with the dark of the branches and leaves against the super bright water. It's actually, I think the water might be brighter than the sky, so it's kind of the same type of situation with snow, where the snow is brighter than the sky. So that's what we're going to be doing today. The trees got really nice kind of dark greens and light greens, and then with the coolness of the water behind it, it's going to be very up close, but it's going to have a nice warm and cool aspect as well. The trees it's going to be very warm in the shadows of the greens, and that's where the transparent orange oxide is really going to come into play. So yeah, got my turpentine or my Gamsol out. I'm going to be using my natural hog hair bristle brushes. Not too big. I'll have one decent sized one, but yep, there we go. Natural bristle filberts, and then I've got one flat synthetic, and then this is a very small, and then my sable brush as well. Also, I wanted to say that this is I'm working on an oil primed linen panel. Let's get started. This one, it's really a battle of dark greens versus the lighter greens, but it's very easy to, when you're painting a tree, to really kind of screw up the value when you're looking at just the tree. You have to look at the tree, and then you have to look at everything else as a whole, because while I'm staring at the tree, the darks of the tree, of the leaves versus the light of the leaves, the longer I look at it, the more the value looks like it's stronger, like the light's really light and the dark is really dark. But when you squint down at it and you look at actual light values like the water or the distance, you realize that the light of the leaves and the dark of the leaves are actually really, really close. Compare everything else as a whole, and actually really, really compressed in value. So a lot of people's trees their highlights tend to be way too bright, when in reality, if you look at the brightest value of the leaves, even if it's sunlit, and you look at it against, for this instance, the river or the sky, you realize how much darker it actually is than the bright values. So that's something that I'm really having to keep in mind, is compressing the values within the tree itself. And then that really strong contrast between the water and the leaves. I definitely should have brought my jacket. It's super cold, so I am going to try and finish this one up real quick. Nine by 12 or 12 by 9 since it's vertical. And like I said earlier, I really had to compress the values in the leaves right here, because when you're looking at the scene and you're looking straight at the dark, it's easy to think that the light of the leaves is a lot lighter than it actually is. But you squint down, look at the scene and compare it to an actual light value, and you realize how close in value that these actually are. So you really want to compress them. Went really thick with some of the paint right in here to kind of bring your eye in and make it the focal point here. When in doubt, go very thick with your light paint, especially in the focal point. When it's thicker, it just appears as brighter, and it's just kind of a trick you can do with the eye to bring you and direct your eye to the focal point here. So this was a really fun one. The sun kind of came and went, so when it went away, it really brought out the color in the scene, and I really wanted to keep that. It came out and had strong shadows, and it looked really cool, but I knew that it was going to mainly be cloudy, so I kept it a pretty cloudy scene, cloudy painting, and really kind of brought it brought the color harmony really together when I did that. So you've got these kind of muted wintry greens, but they're like, some of them is actually kind of bright because all the snow melted and we had like some warm days. Actually, it was like, right now it's like almost 35, so I'm freezing, but it was relatively warm the last few days. So that grass is actually like, it's almost like spring green, even though it's not even spring. We had spring-like weather and all that snow melted, so all the grass had water, and it's just this kind of weird green right now. So that was a cool kind of contrast also with the dark greens of the tree, and against the light, it all kind of was really cool. It had really good color harmony, had good warms here against the cools over here. So relatively a warm toned painting, but I wanted to keep the cool greens over here, kind of keep this cool over here, bleeding into the warm of the trees. So it actually ended up being a really fun painting. I love doing these 9x12 sizes because you can really enhance them and enlarge them in the studio to almost any relatively close dimensions. So I love doing these little studies especially on this oil prime linen. It's such a great surface. The paint doesn't absorb in. It really stands out on the panel. So I wasn't too sure when I started if it was going to work out, but you always stick with it, and you're always going to learn something. And I'm actually really happy that I did, because it was a good lesson in values and in compressing your values. So happy about that. Happy to be out here painting. My back's still hurting. I'm still limited to where I can paint, and obviously that limits what I can paint. But I'm lucky to have great parks around the Cincinnati and Middletown and Hamilton area, and it's really nice to have these parks with benches, and I can just kind of set up and have free reign almost. If you guys are interested in this painting, I will have this painting up for sale. You can click the link down below and purchase it. If you guys want to sign up for my newsletter, you can click the link down below as well. There's a link for PayPal tips to keep the channel going, to keep everything going the way that it's been, and it's on an upward trend, so it's very, very good. So there's a link down there for that. There is a link to follow me on Instagram if you guys want. So most of the time I actually post these, unless I am doing like a special or something for my YouTube subscribers or just YouTube in general. I usually will post this on my Instagram before it's on YouTube, so you can kind of get a glimpse of what I'm working on. And as well as my newsletter, I always will send out anything I've been working on, any sort of upcoming events or anything. I'm always going to put that on my newsletter as well. It's a super fun day. I enjoyed it. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you for everything. Thank you for the encouragement. Thank you for the likes, the subscribing, comments, everything. It helping the channel grow, and it really, really means a lot to me. So that being said, I'm freezing, so I'm going to pack this up. I will see you guys in the next one.